You mentioned about EGFR resistor, and you're now an advocate for that particular organization. What does that organization play in the role in Neva's journey?
There's a support group, EGFR Resisters, and I recently joined their board because what they did was they provided a lifeline for us. And so the people who are really doing it, it's a passion for them, their livelihood. Like I said, life is precious. You never know what it brings.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the WdY&x podcast. And our topic for today is turning grief into purpose. Thanh Hong's journey of love and advocacy for lung cancer patients. Welcome, Thanh.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Will.
Let's start with an introduction. Can you give a brief introduction about yourself?
I'm 55 years old, or young, I don't know. But immigrant, came over from Vietnam when the troops pulled out of in 75 when the troops pulled out of Vietnam. I've been working for the past 35 years. I recently retired. Major financial institutions like JPMorgan, UBS, Merrill Lynch. And really, the thing we're talking about today is really about my wife recently passed away from lung cancer. We were married almost 32 years, and it was a big shock to us that she got lung cancer because she never smoked. And, that's part of the reason why I want to be here today, to really spread the news and bring awareness to the stigma around lung cancer and everything that comes with it.
Thank you for being a guest today. How her journey with lung cancer began.
Neva and I, we actually met each other in high school. Right? We didn't date at the time. I still remember seeing her across the mall, and she had long ponytails when she was 17 years old. And she was also an immigrant from Laos. She always worked super hard. She gave 110% to everything she did. She was a chemical engineer, studied at University of Rochester. And when we got married and we had our son, Dylan, she stopped working and committed 110% raising our son, Dylan. About 3 years ago, she started having headaches, and we didn't know why. We thought it was due to dental work or other things like nerves. But we finally went to the hospital, and after 10 days of being in the hospital, they discovered that she had cancer and that it had already spread to her brain. That was a very trying and hard time for us because Neva is the most healthy person you could meet. She doesn't, she worked out, she ate right. So it was a shock. No one in her family had cancer. And so it was a big shock to us. What we found out was that this cancer, it was lung cancer. But she never smoked, she doesn't drink. It was a shock and what we found out was that she had this mutation. It's called EGFR. And it's very common, or not common, but almost 30% of the people with this mutation are Asian women who don't smoke. And it's growing year over year. And so we never heard about it before. And, but after she was diagnosed, we dove in very deep and studied a lot about it. And we found out a friend of ours with the same mutation, the same cancer, and actually passed away a year after it was discovered. So she passed away over 2 years ago. And this cancer, by the time it's discovered, is late stage, it's terminal. So Neva had 3 years before she passed. It was good because we had time to, enrich our bond and became closer together as a family. But it was a struggle. And but like everything Neva does, she faces every struggle and gives it 110%. And she fought all the way to the end.
Thank you for sharing that story. You mentioned about EGFR Resistor, and you're now an advocate for that particular organization. What does that organization play in the role in Neva's journey, and what impact do you believe it's making to a lot of the patients?
So there's a support group, EGFR Resisters, and I recently joined their board because what they did was they provided a lifeline for us. They provide so much information, and it's basically a cancer support group that provides a lot of educational materials. It's a way for patients and caregivers to really communicate and share their stories and ask questions. And during those 3 years, especially in the beginning, I had known nothing about this mutation, about lung cancer, about cancer, right? I really didn't have to deal with it before. But with EGFR resistors and the support group, I was able to dive really deep into like clinical trials, the medications, the side effects, other patients' journeys, and got second opinions. Things that was not readily available when you search through the internet, right? Because you get real patient stories about how they did on a certain drug or what reactions they did or what doctors were the best. And so they were really a lifeline for us, especially for me as a caregiver, to make sure that I gave the focus to Neva throughout her journey. So I think that's the huge impact. And they're funding, now that I'm on the board, we have a patient summit in November, bringing people together, telling their stories and giving them extended resources for it. And we're doing funding research as well. So part of EGF Resistors is being a patient advocacy, but really extending it, because it started with 6 founders who all had lung cancer. And there's only 2 left because others passed. And so the people who are really doing it, it's a passion for them, because it's really their livelihood. It's going to really impact how they are living life. And I just wanted a way to give back, because like I said, I mean, when going through it with Neva, my main focus was Neva. Now that she's not here, I would like to try to help and give back, because I have time now. I recently retired from my work at JPMorgan, so now I'm have more time. So I want to focus more on the nonprofit and giving back to this community.
Thank you for being an advocate for the EGFR and being an advisor too. You've spoken about Neva's strength and grace during the treatment. What are some of those moments during those years that inspire you as a person?
Well, like I said, my family, as my son, we moved from the New Jersey area back to the Phoenix area. My son and daughter-in-law, Dylan and Emily, were here because Emily was going to medical school. So we were able to be as a family and have dinners together and do some travel together. Neva had many treatments. She actually had clinical trials. She had thoracentesis. She's done so much. She went through so much in those 3 years, but she really never complained, and she wanted to be there for us. She was able to attend Dylan's wedding, and she looked lovely in her dress, and she was lively like she always was, even though she was dealing with a lot of pain. And you couldn't tell, because she was always smiling and always thinking about others. So Neva's spirit, and all the people that know her very close, still remembers it. And so she's that type of person who always gave 110%. And so I think I'll always remember that about her.
She's a selfless person that focuses on other people other than herself, so it's really inspiring. How has your outlook in life as a leader and now your purpose shifted to being an advocate for sharing Neva's legacy change?
I've always tried to lead by example, be an empathetic leader. And even at work, as we were going through this, the past few years, I've done something called listening circles, which is more a way to facilitate, um, others who are struggling with either grief or loss or mental stress, or it could be anything from work related or personal, right? So I facilitate these sessions at work. And for me, it's like giving back is very important. Making an impact is very important. So as a leader, I don't want to be kind of superficial. I want to make an impact on people's lives, a real impact. And with all of this, Neva has shown me that, life is very precious and very short. So you have to live with no regrets. And that's what I try to do. I try to make sure that I live with no regrets, and I try to do what I can. But more importantly, live with a purpose. And that's one of the reasons I'm leaning in to this nonprofit.
As you now retire and reflect on the next chapter of your life, what message do you want the listener to take away from?
Well, so I'm actually looking to create a platform so that I can spread awareness around lung cancer, the stigma around it. Like most people don't know that lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer deaths. 1 in 5 cancer deaths is due to lung cancer, right? People think, like breast cancer is something that's more prevalent, but
Mm.
because of early detection and awareness and research, right? If you detect it early, you can go in remission. You can actually cure it, right? Things like lung cancer, the stigma around it was like, it's a smoker's disease. Well, Neva and a lot of these people are not smokers. They never smoked. And the other thing is that when you look at like lung cancer, because there's no early detection, and when you get it, like Neva did, it's stage 4, which is terminal, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have the prognosis is very poor. And so even with the best drug that she was on, like Tagrisso, which is the drug that extended her life for two years, right? Like she lived for 3, but 2 she was on this drug, which gave a decent quality of life. But the cancer mutates. So what I want to do is really focus on the awareness around it.
Thank you, Tan, for sharing Neva's story and your work that you're doing in the EGFR resistor cause. If my audience wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to connect with you? To either ask question, maybe invite you to speak at their event?
Definitely. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn. You can look at me, Thanh Hong, right, on LinkedIn. So definitely, that's the best way to do it. You can also follow me on Instagram. I'm starting to one of the things I'm doing is I applied to a few reality TV shows, right, like Amazing Race, Beast Games, and Survivor, so that hopefully looking for a way to have a platform to extend that awareness of lung cancer, right, and the stigma around it. But follow me on Instagram. It's my first name Tan THANH Hong HONG 9/11/69, which is my birthday, which is probably not the best thing to put on your Instagram account because giving too much personal information. But yeah, just follow me and send message. I usually respond to messages, and I'm be more than happy to work with others to spread awareness around this disease and the stigma around it, and countries like Taiwan and South Korea, because it's prevalent in Asian women who don't smoke, are starting to do programs like early detection. So I'm hoping to get that somewhere here in the US as well. But we need to really get rid of that stigma around lung cancer and promote it more.
Thank you. If you have final word for my audience, what would those be? Word.
Like I said, life is precious. You never know what it brings. And I had the privilege of taking care of Neva for 3 years and being by her side for every moment and telling her that I love her every day. Life is precious. Make sure that you are there and present with your loved ones and tell them like how much you care, because that's at the end of the day the most important thing.
Thank you, Tan, for being a guest on my podcast and sharing your message and creating a platform to help other people. That's really selfless of you to actually do that and honor me, but to I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Will. Thanks for having this, give me this voice, right? So I really appreciate your support in doing that.
You're welcome.